morning, everyone. How is everyone feeling today? Good? Is anyone sick? No? Are you sleepy, Hazi? Okay, you can go to the toilet first if you want to, and then you come back as fast as you can, okay? We're going to proceed with the new subtopic today, okay? So, okay. Do you remember what we have learned in the previous class? No? Anyone remember? Okay, I now remember. What is it? Yes, correct. We have learned cellular respiration and also aerobic respiration, right? Okay, so for today's class, I will present a PowerPoint slide so that you can see the important notes inside, and we're going to learn about fermentation today. At the end of this lesson, students should be able to state the factors that cause fermentation to occur in the cells. Okay, that is what we're going to learn at first. And then second, students are able to explain by using examples of energy production from glucose during fermentation in, there's two types, right? I'm sorry, there's three types, which is human muscle cell, lactobacillus, and yeast. Correct. Okay, and the last one is students should be able to write and explain the word equations for, there's two here, you can see. All right, lactic acid fermentation and alcohol fermentation. Okay, good. So now class, everyone okay already? Everyone is ready to learn about the topic today? Okay, yes, Haziq, you can come in the class again. All right, thank you. Okay, so oh yeah, just now, Haziq, we've already stated the learning outcomes, what we will learn today, okay, which is about fermentation. Okay, you can ask your friends about the learning outcomes. Okay, can I proceed? Okay, everyone all right? Okay, good. So next, what is fermentation? Anyone know what is fermentation? Do you have any clue what is fermentation? Or can I know, maybe you recognize the picture given here? Anyone know? This is what you see, this is what you eat every day. I'm pretty sure everyone ever eat this one, right? Okay, so yes, Kristen, what do you know about this one? Bread. Good. Okay, so this is a bread, and this is the making of bread and also yogurt. Okay, so next slide before we proceed. So what is fermentation? Okay, from the slide here, I've already highlighted the keyword. What is fermentation? Okay, can I ask someone to read it? All right, Emily. Okay, good. You want to volunteer? Okay, good. All right, can you read the first word, the first line here? Okay, yes, good. Fermentation is an incomplete breakdown of glucose in conditions of limited oxygen or without oxygen. Okay, what you understand from here is that fermentation is an aerobic respiration. Okay, aerobic respiration, as we have learned in the previous class, aerobic respiration needs the presence of oxygen, but this one, fermentation, it clearly stated that it is an incomplete breakdown of glucose in conditions of limited or without oxygen, right? So this is an aerobic respiration, fermentation. Okay, and next, this fermentation, however, is different from the regular aerobic respiration in its metabolic pathway after glycolysis stage, because in fermentation, after glycolysis, the pyruvate that is produced will undergo either two types of fermentation. Okay, so here I already highlighted it, which is alcohol fermentation and lactic acid fermentation. This is what we are going to learn after this in more details. Okay, class, now I will continue with alcohol fermentation. Okay, under alcohol fermentation, which is written in the slides here, okay, Yes, I know. Okay, what is it? Or the notes from the textbook. Yes, it is the same notes with the slide here. I want you to focus on the slides here first and listen to what I'm going to say so that you don't miss out any important topics or any important keywords. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll continue. Okay, all right. So for the equation of alcohol fermentation, the glucose, the incomplete breakdown of glucose will produce ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy. So this is the three byproduct of alcohol fermentation. So may I know, do you guys have any idea what is the example of alcohol fermentation? Okay, Hafiz, can you tell me any example of alcohol fermentation? In the making of bread. Yes, that's correct. In the making of bread, because bread uses yeast. Okay, so example of alcohol fermentation, as you can see from the notes here, such as in yeast and plants. Okay, in yeast, so when we are making bread, right, if you see any videos from the internet, they will add yeast in the ingredients to make the bread, right? So ethanol is also used in the making of beer and wine. Everyone knows, right? Beer and wine contain alcohol. So of course it involves in alcohol fermentation. Yes. Can you imagine when making the bread? Have you ever wondered, like, if you leave the bread on its own and when you cover it, right, after you mix the bread with sugar and what else, the flour, okay, and then you just leave it for a few minutes, maybe 30 minutes, right? I can't remember. Okay, so when you leave it from the size that you left it, right, and then when you try to check it after 15 minutes, when you check it, the size will become double, right, or maybe bigger. So do you know what happened? The bread dough, itu roti punya tepung, okay, it rises, it expands in size because it releases carbon dioxide. Yeah. Whenever you make the bread, right, it will release CO2 and also ethanol. So you can actually smell the ethanol when you're making the bread, because if you smell while you're making the bread, right, and then when you open the cover after you left it for a while, right, you can smell the pungent smell of the ethanol. Okay, all right, so moving on to the next topic. So okay, alcohol fermentation also occurs in plants. Okay, for example, in paddy plants, the paddy plants in waterlogged areas which contain less oxygen are able to carry out alcohol fermentation because why? Do you know why? Okay, this is some extra information. So the ethanol produced in tissue during fermentation process usually is toxic to most of the plants, that we see. However, paddy plants, the cells inside the paddy plant have high tolerance for ethanol, okay, which helps it to keep on growing even if the surrounding is less in oxygen compared to other plants. Okay, so the paddy plants produce plenty of alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme. Okay, this enzyme, the function of this enzyme is that it can break down the ethanol molecules into a non-toxic carbon dioxide, which is going to be released to the surrounding. Alright, so far everyone okay? We're already done with alcohol fermentation. See, I told you we're not going to learn a lot today. It's just a bit of about fermentation, and then we're going to proceed with the next class activity later. Okay, so can I continue? Yes? Okay, thank you. I will continue, right? Okay, so next is lactic acid fermentation. So Can I ask someone to read the equation? I want to see whether how you say it correctly or not. Okay? Yes, Lydia. Alright, you want to read. Okay, thank you. You can stand up and read so that your friends can hear you. Okay. Yes, correct. The breakdown of glucose in lactic acid fermentation produces lactic acid and energy. So the byproduct in lactic acid fermentation is lactic acid and energy. Remember, okay? You can write that down. Important keywords, okay? And then there are two examples of lactic acid fermentation. So here I've already written it. The first lactic acid fermentation can be seen in one type of bacteria, which is lactobacillus, and also in human muscle cell. Yes, lactic acid does happen in our body, and I will explain after this so that you understand, okay? So, in lactobacillus, have you ever wondered, like, okay, today we're learning about cellular respiration, right? So, what is the function of lactobacillus? It carries out the milk fermentation to produce yogurt, right? Okay, so this lactobacillus, it will act on the lactose, which is one type of sugar in milk, containing in the milk. Okay, it will act on the sugar, and then it will turn into lactic acid. Okay, is it clear, the things that I've stated here? No? Okay, so I will give an example. Okay, so like just now, when making the bread, right? The bread, you mix it together with sugar, so the yeast will use the sugar, which is glucose, and then it will produce ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy. However, in this lactic acid fermentation, this bacteria called lactobacillus, it will act on the lactose milk containing in the milk, lactose, okay, and then it will turn into lactic acid, which is the product of lactic acid fermentation, which is glucose will turn into lactic acid and energy. Yes, Hari, yeah. What's the question? Where is the sugar from lactic acid? Okay, as I mentioned just now, lactose is a sugar that can be found in the milk. Okay, so that is the sugar that is being used by this bacteria, which it will act on this sugar and produce lactic acid. Okay, understand? Okay, right, good. Okay, now I will proceed, okay? And the next thing is, the lactic acid will coagulate casein. Casein is a milk protein, and it will harden the milk. Just now it was liquid, right? Liquid milk. And it will harden the milk to produce yogurt. Okay, so as you can see here, lactic acid. What is the pH of acid? Lactic acid. Anyone knows? Okay. pH of acid is 6 and below, right? pH 6 and below. So, if you hear the word acid, what do you think about? How does it taste? Sour, right? Yes, good. So, when you eat yogurt, anyone here loves yogurt? Yes, everyone. See, the girls love yogurt. Okay, good. So when you eat yogurt, you can taste the sour taste, right? The sour taste comes from lactic acid. Okay, that is where the sour taste comes from. And then, as the picture seen here, you can see the picture here. This is one of the example of the process of coagulation of milk, whereby the milk from liquid stage it will turn into solid like texture. because the lactic acid coagulate the milk, the milk protein, which is the acid, and then it will produce yogurt. So in the yogurt there is bacteria. Okay, good. Okay, so everyone understand, right? What's lactic acid fermentation? Yes, Anis, what is your question? Okay, so you're asking that if bacteria is in yogurt, why do we eat it? You thought bacteria is bad, right? Okay, so lactobacillus is one of the good bacteria. We call it good bacteria because it can produce yogurt, and it functions in the lactic acid fermentation. Okay, it doesn't mean that when you hear bacteria, you can only imagine that, okay, bacteria is bad. No. Some of the bacteria is good for your health. Okay, because yogurt, it will help. Yogurt originally come from milk, right? So yogurt is good for calcium. Okay. Alright, so moving on to the next topic, which is lactic acid fermentation in human muscle cell. Alright, so for the next topic is lactic acid fermentation in human muscle cell. Okay, as you can see, you can open the textbook now. Okay. Alright, open the textbook and then open to the page of lactic acid fermentation in human muscle cell. Okay, so from the picture given in the textbook, you can see that there's a boy or a young man is doing a vigorous training, right? It looks like he is running, or maybe he is jogging lah. Okay, so what happens when we run, when we do vigorous activity? Our body undergoes lactic acid fermentation. Okay, I mean our muscle cell undergoing a cellular respiration called lactic acid fermentation. Okay, so I will proceed. Okay, you can focus back on this slide. Okay, so lactic acid fermentation occurs in the human muscle cell during vigorous training. Alright, during vigorous training, the rate of oxygen use exceeds the rate of oxygen supplied by the blood circulatory system. So for those who don't understand the meaning here, I will explain in the end. Okay, so maksudnya kadar oksigen yang digunakan di dalam otot kita semasa kita tengah berlari ke when we're doing vigorous training, right? Dia melebihi kadar yang dibekalkan oleh sistem peredaran darah dalam badan kita. So it means that oksigen itu yang kita guna, dia melebihi kadar yang sepatutnya dibekalkan oleh badan. So therefore the muscle is in oxygen deficiency state, which is known as oxygen debt. Maksudnya dekat sini kita punya otot, dia hutang oksigen, dia dalam state hutang oksigen, because the oxygen use tadi adalah melebihi, so it needs more oxygen, right? So during this process, glucose cannot break down completely. So for each glucose molecule that is broken down, only 2 ATP molecules or 150 kilojoule energy will be produced. Okay, so therefore the produced lactic acid accumulates in the muscle until it reaches a level of concentration which can cause the muscle, we feel fatigue and muscle cramp. Maksudnya dekat sini lactic acid that is produced, dia akan bergumpul di dalam otot kita sampai dia akan mencapai satu tahap konsentrasi yang akan menyebabkan kita punya otot berasa letih dan kita akan cramp. Sebab itulah mostly when you see the athletes when they run, right, suddenly they will have leg cramp, they will have muscle cramp. It's because of this stuff, okay? It's because the lactic acid accumulates in the muscle, okay? Therefore, once the vigorous activity stops, so the intake of excess oxygen will oxidize the lactic acid into carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Okay, so when all the lactic acid has been expelled, the oxygen debt is now repaid. So maksudnya dekat sini, I will explain. So when you feel tired and then like after you've done a very vigorous training, right, your breathing rate will increase, right? You will like inhale, exhale very fast, like that, right? Okay. So when you inhale very fast, when you drink water and etc., the amount of oxygen entering your body will cause you to intake excess oxygen. So after you berlari-lari, you akan berpeluh, and then you akan rasa macam your body will feel, you will feel the heat, a bit of the heat release on your skin. If you notice, if you observe after this. So during PJK class, okay, try to observe after you run, right? What do you feel? What do you feel happening to your body? Okay, you will sweat, right? Of course, you will sweat, and then if you can feel closely, like if you just put a slight touch, but don't touch the skin, but just put a bit of space, and then you can feel that there's heat being released by your body. Okay, so that is what happens. So when you already breathe correctly, or when you already drink, okay, hutang oxygen tadi, the oxygen debt is being repaid again. So it means just now your muscle is in oxygen deficiency state, also known as oxygen debt. So what is oxygen debt? May I ask you again? Anyone knows? Can someone? Okay, the question here is, what is the meaning of oxygen debt? No? Okay, so I will call out one name. Okay. Let me see who looks sleepy right now. I will ask you the question. Yes, Malik, I seen you put your head on the table just now. So I would like to see what did you hear? I explained just now. What did you learn? All right. Yes, oxygen debt is when the muscle is in oxygen deficiency state. Yes, correct. Oh, so you've heard what I explained just now. Okay, good, very good. Make sure everyone can be like Malik. Okay, see, he still listened to what I was teaching. Okay, and he's a very good boy. Good, thank you, Malik. Then here is the diagram, is a graph. Next, here is the graph of what happened to the oxygen in the body. Okay, so the oxygen consumption, as you can see here, at a resting stage, the oxygen consumption is normal, kiranya dia masih rest lagi, and then once you start exercising, the oxygen rate, the oxygen consumption will increase, right? It will increase, and then at this area, this is the area where your body will undergo oxygen deficiency, and then this is the energy required, oxygen required by the body. However, punya badan tak cukup oxygen supplied for the muscle during vigorous activity, and then at this one is the steady state oxygen requirement, which means at this stage, when you stop exercising or when you stop vigorous training, the oxygen consumption now will drop. Okay, so this area is where the body needs, the body is experiencing oxygen debt. Sorry, just now is the oxygen deficit. Maksudnya oxygen deficiency, dia tak cukup oxygen dekat sini. This is the oxygen required. And then here is during recovery, which means after you stop exercising all, okay? And then after you exercise and tiba-tiba you cramp, right? So this is what happened. This is where your muscle is in depth of oxygen. Dia perlukan oxygen, okay? And then at the end of recovery, and then you punya oxygen consumption akan you will consume it as usual, as normal, as the normal state in the resting state, okay? Alright, so that is actually the only topic that we've already learned today, which is fermentation. So anyone have any questions regarding the topic today? No? We will proceed with the class activity, okay? After this, we are going to do a group work, okay? You will be divided into group work, and we are going to play. It is not a game, but it is actually, you can say it is a game lah, because you are discussing between your friends, okay? So what are we going to do today? It's, yes, here it is, the name of the activity, which is 3 stray and 1 stay. The instruction for the group activity is, okay, each group will be given different topics, okay? So you have to discuss between your group mates, okay? After that, the tallest person, siapa yang tinggi tu? Yang tinggi, siapa yang paling tinggi, you will become the presenter. Presenter maksudnya you punya kerja dekat sini. Presenter will stay at his or her group and share the information with the visiting group. For the next member, the 3 other group members, okay, they will stray. Maksudnya dia akan berjalan and visit each group and collect the information from the mind map just now. We're going to do it for 15 minutes, okay? Okay, so 15 minutes is up. Because after this we have like 5 minutes left. I am going to do a short quiz session. So first answer, explain what is alcohol fermentation and write down the correct question. So alcohol fermentation is the incomplete breakdown of glucose to produce ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy. Everyone got correct answer? Correct? Okay, good. It means you understand what is alcohol fermentation. Okay, give a round of applause to yourself. Good job. Nice. Good. And then the next question is, give 2 examples of alcohol fermentation. Alright, Haziq, can you tell me what's your answer? 2 examples of alcohol fermentation. Beer, okay, correct. One more is yeast. And the next question is, what causes the casein, the milk protein, to coagulate? Lactic acid. Oh wow, okay, so everyone got the answer correct. Good. Give round of applause to yourself again. It means that you know the function of lactic acid in lactic acid fermentation, right? It hardens the milk, and then which will produce yogurt. Okay, good. And then for A, what is the answer? Is it aerobic or anaerobic? Emily, yes. Can I know your answer? You answer aerobic. Right. It's okay. It's okay. The answer is actually anaerobic, because if you read the questions carefully, right? It is stated there. Dia dah cakap dah dekat sini. The athlete has filled up oxygen debt. Maksudnya dia athlete tu dia punya muscle tengah hutang oksigen. So macam kita belajar hari ni, fermentation, lactic acid fermentation, it is under anaerobic respiration, because dia hutang oksigen. Maksudnya dia tak ada oksigen lah. Dia in the absence of oxygen, which is anaerobia. So for last question, 4B, state 2 ways in which this athlete can recover from oxygen debt in his muscle. Okay, so the 2 ways are, okay, Lydia, can you answer? By exercising. Your answer is very unique. Okay, no, actually the answer is it is not exercising. So if you remember, what causes oxygen debt? So apa yang menyebabkan badan kita berhutang oksigen is because we are exercising vigorously. So if you exercise more, it won't recover the oxygen debt. Okay, macam mana? You bayangkan macam mana you nak bayar hutang. Okay, you pinjam duit dekat kawan. Okay, I'll give you one situation. You pinjam duit dekat kawan, lepas tu you hutang dengan dia duit, right? So you nak bayar dia dengan apa? You nak bayar dia balik dengan duit lah kan? You bayar balik dengan benda yang sama. So what are the ways that you can think of how to gain back the oxygen, how to get back the oxygen, obtain back the oxygen needed in the body? So the first thing that if you notice, after you lari vigorously, right, you will breathe heavily. So when you breathe heavily, you bernafas macam tu, right? When you bernafas, that is one of the way to recover the oxygen. Maksudnya the intake of oxygen banyak lah. Time you nafas tu, you ambil oksigen banyak, right? And second is by drinking water. Okay, drinking the correct amount of water lah. Jangan terlebih minum, jangan terlampau banyak minum, dan jangan minum directly after you exercise. So you have to wait for a few minutes for your body to cool down, then you can drink water. So that is all for today's lesson. I hope you all understand what we have learned in the class, and you can pass up your notebook to the class monitor, and class monitor, you send it to my table later. Okay, thank you everyone. That is all for today's class.